Oh yeah, here comes the Plato 1984 rep. Oh guys, that reminds me. Not to bounce off the placebo effect, but boy, do I need to read you this. Oh, this lady. That reminds me. Yesterday I made a video called why liberals piss me off, right? Like the liberals simping for the capitalist death cult. Here is like peak liberal, and I'm gonna read this, and you guys, let's all just bask in the glory of how fucking annoying liberals are. This is an Australian newspaper, Financial Review. Why you shouldn't underestimate the underclass. They are damaged, lacking in trust and discipline, and highly self-interested. But the poor are still a force that Australia needs to properly harness. Prue Goward, columnist. If there is hope, it lies in the proles. So said one of the 20th century's greatest philosophers, thinly disguised as novelist George Orwell in his spookily prescient work, 1984. These guys cannot stop jerking off about 1984, eh? 1984 was the... Like, you get that there have been, like, other books, right? I believe my lifelong fascination with the underclass began when I pondered that Declaration of Independence against a futuristic form of government oppression, which has turned out not to be so futuristic. As a shopkeeper's daughter, I understood poor people. They obeyed the law, worked hard, sent their kids to the same primary schools I attended, and were equally ambitious for their children. But the underclass, small as it was then, behaved differently. Like the stoats and weasels of the wild wood in The Wind and the Willows, yet another English children's book on the topic of class, they rejected the rules and lived by their own. I mean, they've been abandoned, so... They were to be feared, and were, to use my mother's own words, not very nice, like abandoned people are. It took Orwell to turn the noble Marxist proletariat into the proles. Since the 1950s, there has been remarkable growth in the number of proles, because they're being abandoned by a system of abandonment. The welfare state is not entirely to blame, as the world of Dickens attests. I gotta read that line again, just so that you see how fucking annoying it is. The welfare state is not entirely to blame. So it's somewhat to blame, right? Like that the welfare state is a problem. That these people we've abandoned would be happier if we just abandoned them more. Liberalism. Government agencies view them with alarm as huge cost centers. They are overrepresented in their use of government crisis services and are always the last to give up smoking, get their shots, and eat 2 servings of vegetables a day. Guys, people who have been completely abandoned, right, have been discarded into the streets, require effort. Whoa. Of course, they are always seen as a deficit. Social workers, traditionally good young men and women who thought it would be nice to be kind for a living, despair of their appalling housework, neglect of their children, and notably, their sharp and unrepentant manner when told to lift their game by the patronizing do-gooder. Oh yes, and they don't vote often, although, as I found door knocking, it will be issues such as refugees and threats to the national flag which will get them out the door, rather than the budget deficit or how much we spend on public education. Despite the billions of dollars governments invest in changing the lives of the proles, their number increases. Their birth rates far outstrip those of professional couples, and they are now a significant potential contributor to our workforce. Except their children languish in the growing number of behavioral support classes in general high schools where they learn little, and teachers itch to send them to the local TAF to do some form of homeschooling and get them off their books. Once graduated with a basic studies completion certificate and little else, their prospects are not great. The discipline of work, and often its thanklessness, especially at the unskilled end, also have little appeal. But Orwell was right. The underclass can smell a fake at 50 paces, distrusts conceptual rhetoric, and cannot speak a word of newspeak, the language of lies made famous in Orwell's 1984. They know what they want and see no reason why they should take notice of some man or woman in a suit when they get in their way. They were a significant part of the anti-vax protests because they don't like being told what to do. And even though many drew their inspiration from spurious websites, they had correctly identified the freedoms the rest of us had been only too happy to give up. State leaders might have deplored the demonstrations, but they also knew they represented the tip of a sentiment the rest of the society keeps hidden from view and only reveals in the privacy of the ballot box. Freedom has gathered pace. The underclass is not always a happy place to be, and bumping into the rest of the world mostly does not go well. People with chronic mental illness, cognitive disabilities, and childhoods of trauma are mixed together in a sometimes brutal way. Chaos and crisis never far from their door, living in a wild wood in their streets and public housing blocks or caravan parks. And yet, I like them. I like them because they call us out. They are honestly self-interested, and you always know what they think. I know many of them, so many clever, actually very clever, kids and adults, although often damaged and almost entirely lacking discipline, trust in the system, trust in anyone who represents the system. I am convinced we can do better to harness the force that the people of the underclass represent. We need to make it a focus of social policy, not a byproduct of it. We have little choice, or we will continue to import our workforce and in growing numbers as risk management parenting forces the birth rate lower. So long as we keep looking at the billions of dollars they cost us, we will continue to dislike them, reject them, and write them off. Yet, in an age where cultural hegemony is now as strong as it was 70 years ago, only different, never have we needed them more to challenge modern meekism. The child who cried, "Look at the king," in the emperor's new clothes, was surely a member of the underclass. Yikes, right? Like liberals, dude. Liberals. Holy shit. Let's see what you guys are saying about this, because, like, the faces. OMG, I'm gonna blow. I'm losing brain cells listening to this, and I don't have many to spare. Sorry, Bumble. A shot of Russiagate and then a shot of this. No chaser. Yeah. Welfare is capitalism's immune response to social unrest. End it all and see how long these social relations persist. Exactly. Those poors. Pain. Lamau, it's weird that everyone loves Orwell when Huxley's A Brave New World is probably a more accurate depiction of North American dystopia. Well, it's a brave new world for those who've bought in, and it's Orwell for those who have bought out. God almighty. Imagine being this person. Yikes. I love going to the poorest petting zoo. People with police boots in their face, landlords evicting them, employers impoverishing them. Yeah. You pegged the tone of it exactly. Yeah. I just died a little. If we just put saddles on the poors, we can ride them to a successful society. Yeah, liberals sound like they're rocking in a corner with a straitjacket, dude. Yeah. Well, and the thing is that, like, she believes that she's, like, doing them a favor, right? Why we just need to think nicely of the poors. Them, they, their, it. The author refers to the working class as if it's a separate species. Yes, good observation, Mocked. This article causes a lower birth rate. I'm not bringing kids into this world. Straight up, dude. Like, straight up. Like, no concept whatsoever that the welfare system that exists in capitalism exists explicitly to ensure that there isn't just starvation and mass homelessness, but to attempt to propel people into the system of exploitation. No understanding whatsoever from this author that the poor have been abandoned, that what you are experiencing is abandonment as a poor person, right? No understanding of this whatsoever. And that her view of the welfare system being somehow a positive force when it's explicitly designed to humiliate, belittle, and barely function so that it can force more and more people to accept shittier and shittier work. Like, it's absolutely brutal. Like, it's absolutely brutal. I feel like I've done, like, real damage to you today, Onward. I'm sorry, bud. I don't know why I'm laughing about that, but, like, I'm sorry, dude. I feel like I put a scar on your brain today. Yeah, we need to harness the rich. We need to eat the rich, dude. That's what we need to do. We need to eat them. Ruby Rod voice. Exploitation in paradise. Yeah, dude. Like, this I had to bring this to the table because, like, oh man, like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? What I always say about these types of people, like, you should go out and sleep on the street for a bit. Go actually interact with the welfare system that you venerate, right? Like, actually go and take a look. And, like, she keeps saying things like, as long as we keep looking at the billions of dollars they cost us, like, forget about the fact that we're actually spending more than we have to. Hey, Soviet, how you doing, bud? What if the majority of working people could have political power? Just imagine what kind of society could spring out of such a place. Exactly. Exactly. So few people controlling so many, yeah. Like, even when they make articles where they think that they are, like, being nice to us, they sound like total fucking assholes. Like, this is, like, the most detached bullshit ever. Like, welcome to the real fucking world, sweetheart. Like, go sleep in the streets for a little while.